everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this personal branding mini masterclass, you're going to learn all 7 steps of creating a personal brand from scratch. So make sure you check out the timestamp table of contents in the description to jump around this video because we're going to be covering a lot. Now, before we dive into the 3 parts of personal branding and all 7 of these steps, there are 3 keys to success you need to know in order to be successful with your personal branding. And the very first key to success is understanding that everyone has a personal brand. Your brand is essentially how others perceive you, and specifically talking about digital marketing, how you're perceived across your online presence. So if you have a social profile anywhere, this is going to be relevant to you. Now, the second key to success is understanding that brands are built on messages and beliefs, not products and services. It's very easy to try and think of your personal brand and then connect it to your skill or connect it to your service or whatever you're selling right now. And that's not the way to go about building your personal brand. We'll get more into that later when we talk about how to create your story. But just remember, brands are about messages and beliefs, not about products and services. And the third key to success when building your personal brand is remembering that brand beats cash every single time. So if you have the option between getting a bunch of cash, but it's gonna hurt your brand a little bit, or just keeping your brand and maybe being broke for a little bit longer, keep your brand. Brands take years to develop and seconds to destroy. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the 7 steps. And then when you stick around to the end, I'm actually going to be sharing with you the #1 key performance indicator for success when it comes to building your personal brand. And the very first step is getting a definition of what the heck personal branding is, because there are a lot of different definitions out there. So for us moving forward, this is what our definition is going to be. Growing a niche audience around a shared interest or desired result through storytelling, engagement, and value. Of course, this is specifically geared towards people who are going to be freelancers, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, or you're looking to be an influencer. Now, let's break this down because there's a lot going on in here, and it's very important that we stay focused on what personal branding is actually supposed to be about. So let's take a look at this first part here. We have growing a niche audience. This is because the goal isn't to connect with everybody. We want to zero in on who we actually want to connect with. That's going to be one of the 7 steps. The next part of the sentence, a shared interest or desired result. This means that you're going to be focused with the type of content you put out. We'll talk more about content in a little bit. And the next part, through storytelling, engagement, and value. So storytelling means we're not just going to be a library of knowledge and just like a computer spitting out answers for our audience, right? We're supposed to be a resource through our content, which I'll talk more about in a little bit here, but we're not going to be just reference sources. We need to actually add our personality in and be more than just a utilitarian resource. And then this next part, engagement, this is so key. I don't know why so many people don't get this. It doesn't matter if you have 1 comment or 1,000 comments. You need to respond to people who engage with you, your profiles, and your content. And the final part we have and value. That just means whatever you're putting out is actually valuable, whether it's valuable in the form of inspiration and entertainment, or whether it's valuable in the form of step 1, 2, 3, 4, helping your audience achieve something that they want to achieve. So with that definition of personal branding out of the way, we're ready for step number 2, because now we know what personal branding is, and that is starting with why. And what you're looking at right now is the golden circle from Simon Sinek. You can just YouTube search Simon Sinek golden circle and his TEDx talk will come up. It has a few million views. And so I'm going to walk through what each one of these circles are. So the first circle is what, and this is just a general description of what your products or services are. Do you talk about fitness? Do you talk about traveling? Are you a service provider? Are you selling e-commerce products? This is just your plain old what. This should take you like 30 seconds to come up with. The next one is how, and this is ultimately going to be your unique edge. What makes you different? What makes you unique from all the other businesses or freelancers out there? Now, the key word here is unique. You don't necessarily have to be better. You don't have to be the best. We all can't be the best at what we do, but we can be unique and the best for a specific segment of that market. I know that probably doesn't make sense. I just said you can't be the best at everything and then everyone can be the best at something. So we'll break that down a little bit more when we get into who you want to target. And then finally we have why. This is going to be the big reason you get up every morning and work those long hours to craft your content and grow your brand. This is the reason that your brand exists, or your business exists, or your practice exists in the first place. Why are you actually doing all this? And authenticity is key with each one of these. I'll go through a concrete example here, but just remember that faking it till you make it is not the name of the game when it comes to personal branding. Personal branding is all about being authentic, and an inauthentic brand is not a strong brand, and it's not gonna serve you long term. So let's go through a concrete example of what this looks like, and I'll use my YouTube channel as an example. So the first thing we have is what? I will lift others to financial autonomy by posting free YouTube videos weekly and offering free templates for download. So essentially, what do I do for my YouTube channel? I make videos about marketing, I make videos about branding, just like this one, and then I offer templates and guides for free on my website via my free membership site, the Aspire Notebook. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? Next we have how. How am I going to do this? Well, the how is I will relentlessly document the process of what it takes to turn a passion or skill into a full-time business. So my unique edge is being a guinea pig. So I very much focus on what step 1, 2, 3, and 4, kind of like what we're doing in this video, versus doing entertainment or lifestyle or inspirational type videos, because that's just not who I am. I tend to be the more boring guy who likes to get into the OCD details of how things work and then break it down into steps. So that's what my content is about. And that's not to say other styles of content like vlogging and traveling around the world or doing other lifestyle entertainment videos for entrepreneurs doesn't work. It just doesn't fit me. So it's very important that you look at your what you're actually going to do, how you're going to approach things from whatever you believe is the best way or what is ever most authentic to you. You definitely don't want to be looking and copying other people, because that's a recipe for disaster. It's very exhausting to keep up a personal brand that isn't actually you. And finally, we have my why. So what is my why for my YouTube channel? It's every individual possesses the capacity to control his or her financial future. Because I honestly believe if someone is hardworking and they're willing to perfect their craft, they should be successful. And so my YouTube channel is all about documenting all of those little itty bitty processes of marketing a valuable skill, product, service, fill in, or becoming an influencer, providing great information. And so that's my why. That's what drives my YouTube channel. And it's important to note that this didn't happen overnight. This is a process that's going to take you some time. I mean, building your personal brand is a lot about looking inward and then figuring out how to articulate what's already going on in your heart and your brain. It's not about coming up with something new. So this isn't a brainstorming session. This is an inward reflection session and saying, how do you want to communicate to the world, and what beliefs and messages are you going to build your personal brand upon? And speaking of looking inward, the next step is your story. So once you have a rough idea of what your what, how, and why are going to be, it's time to come up with your hero story. And this again is a point that I'm going to continue to harp on, and you need to decide right now if you're going to be the hero or you're going to be the underdog. Now, what's important is if you are going to be the hero, you need to have actually achieved the results that you're telling everybody else how to do. And this is a big problem in the make money online space, right? We've all seen those videos of people who are saying, hey, come to my webinar or click this button and I'll show you how to make $1 million in 6 months. And you're like, I know that you don't make $1 million, so why would I believe you? You don't ever want that response from someone who's seeing you for the first time. I'm not saying you're gonna lie about how much money you make or how much weight you lost in a specific amount of time, but what's important is if you've achieved the result that you know your future customers want, then it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to flaunt and flex a little bit of what you have. But if you're faking it, then you need to go the other route, which is the underdog, which really is about 90% of us. And by the way, I'm in the underdog category because I've documenting the entire process of building an agency and growing a YouTube channel. I didn't come to YouTube and say, hey, I'm already a millionaire, right? Because that would have been super disingenuous. So it's just important to remember that your story needs to be real. And the easiest way to come up with your story is pretend that you're writing someone an email. So it doesn't have to be, 2 or 5,000 word post. It just needs to be quick and short to the point, highlighting the different roadblocks that you faced and how you overcame them. This isn't actually something you ever have to publicly publish. This is just good for you to have an internal document of what your story is, and it's going to be very helpful in terms of creating your relationship development content later on in this process. So a great example of a story that actually wound up not being true, but it was a good story to help sell his company, was Reed Hastings would tell the story of going to Blockbuster and then being charged $40 in late fees for returning Apollo 13. He goes on to found Netflix, and that was his little pitch that he gave to why Netflix was going to be such a great idea. Of course, years later we found out that the story was a complete fabrication, but if you have a story like that that's actually real, that's what you want to go with. Now, step number 4 of our brand building process is who. And this is, who are you going to connect with? Who do you want to be your customers? Who do you want to be your followers? Who are you trying to rub shoulders with? And so the who starts with specifically, are you going for customers? Are you looking for clients? Are you looking for people to collaborate with? Are you looking for mentors? Are you trying to connect with potential employers? All of these are totally okay to focus on, but it's important that you start now knowing who you actually want to target with your content. And if you're looking to connect with potential clients, customers, or audience members, link in the description to a full video on how to craft a ideal customer avatar profile. And that's going to actually be very helpful in terms of growing your brand, always keeping in mind who you're creating your content for and who you're trying to connect with on a personal and utilitarian level through your content. And speaking of content, we're finally ready to talk about content, because when it comes to building your personal brand, content is king. Content is the fuel that's going to propel you past everybody else who's just talking about themselves and saying, me, 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 me. So the first step to your content machine is choosing a content medium, which is step number 5 of our brand building process here. Now you have 3 mediums. You have video, you have audio, and of course you have written. There are a lot of different platforms you can choose to make your content. However, I'm of the very strong opinion that YouTube and Instagram and podcasting right now have the best possibility for growth as you as a content creator, a business owner, freelancer, entrepreneur, or personal building your personal brand. Now, of course, if you don't want to be on video, you think Instagram's stupid and you just don't want to talk, then blogging is 100% okay. What's important is with whatever you choose, remember that nobody starts out as an expert with any of these platforms, but you do need to choose one platform to start with and one medium to start with. So if you know you could commit to writing, then just start with writing. If you know you can commit to making some videos, or at least figuring out how to make videos, because nobody's good with videos right out of the gate, or podcasting right out of the gate. But if you know you can commit to perfecting that craft, then go ahead and go for it. Now, once you've chosen your medium, we're ready to talk about content, the actual fuel. So if you don't have any experience creating content and this whole content marketing concept is new to you, link in the description to a full video that goes through Content Marketing 101 and how to actually structure and craft your content. Here, I'm just going to talk about the 2 different types of content you'll make, irrespective of what medium you've chosen. And the 2 different types you are going to make, the first one is authority building content, and the second one is personal content. And they're very different, but they're both vital to building your personal brand. So authority building content provides high value, actionable content, YouTube tutorials, LinkedIn Pulse posts, in-depth blog posts, and podcasts and interviews, whereas relationship building is all about building a relationship with your potential audience through storytelling. So this is Instagram posts, Facebook updates, vlogs, and this part is documentation versus creation. So if you're familiar with Gary Vee at all, he talks a lot about documentation versus creation. So authority content is creation, right? You're creating something that's going to be valuable for someone who's eventually going to do business with you, or you just want to be a part of your audience and in your brand awareness. Versus documentation is where you're going to be really focusing on building a relationship and meeting people where they are. So if you've chosen to do an underdog story where you're kind of documenting your process from, oh, I'm kind of just like you, or I'm still figuring it out, documentation is a great strategy to go with. But the problem that I see a lot is I see a lot of new people who are trying to build their personal brand choosing one or the other. For whatever reason, you're going to gravitate towards one versus the other. I personally gravitate towards authority content, but I know that personal content for relationship building is just as important. You need a balance between the two. So you can see on my channel, I have a vlog where I talk about documentation, but the majority of my content is the authority style. So you're just going to have to figure out what's the best way to balance them for you. And of course, you need to be consistent. So don't overcommit to something and try vlogging for like every day for a month and then not do anything for the next 2 months because you're so burned out. Consistency really is important. So for example, when I first started this channel, I still had a full-time job and I was working part-time consulting, so I didn't have time to make a bunch of content. So what I did is once a week, I did a video where I just documented putting together a sales funnel, and that is still up on my channel. And embarrassingly, that sales funnel actually fell flat on its face. I think I lost something like $5,000 on Facebook ads or something, but I learned a lot, and so did the few hundred people that actually watched it. And I was able to provide actionable insights to how they could not lose $5,000 on Facebook ads. So your documentation doesn't always have to be you winning. In fact, showing your losses is going to be actually more valuable because it's showing that you're authentic and you're not just fronting and pretending like, oh yeah, I got it figured out and I never have a down day. So remember, content is going to be your fuel for creating your personal brand, and a lot of helpful links in the description to a full playlist and some videos on how to create and structure content, and of course, come up with ideas for your content. So if you're still watching this video, you're getting some value, go ahead and hit that like button. You can always comment below with your questions. I know this is a long one. We're on the home stretch here. Number 7 is the bench. And this is something that I've personally come up with and I haven't seen elsewhere. So I want to dive into this before we get to the bonus tip because it's so important. Think of the bench you see at a basketball game or football players sitting on the bench. The bench is only so long. There are only so many second string players they need. There are only so many starters that they need for the team. So when you have someone who's coming to YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, they only have so much attention or so much time. And if you think about each piece of content they interact with or each type of content they interact with as a player on the team, you need to figure out, where do you fit into everything that they're watching? They're watching silly cat videos, they're watching late night shows, they're watching cooking tutorials, entrepreneurial tutorials, they're watching how to iron their shirts or mukbang videos. Like whatever they're watching, your content fits somewhere in there. And it's your job to figure out where in that spectrum, maybe they're only watching your type of content once a week, but where in that spectrum of everything that they would be watching can you be the best at? So for example, for this channel, I've really focused on being the best in tutorials for marketing, like the nitty-gritty stuff. Is someone gonna watch a Google Tag Manager tutorial every time they log on to YouTube? Heck no, because it's super boring. Nobody wants to do that for fun. But when they're setting up their website, they do need someone to tell them how to set up Google Tag Manager, and that's where my video comes in, and that's the lane that I swim in. I make sure I'm the absolute best. I don't try and compete with all the other cool entrepreneur and vlogger channels that are very inspirational to entrepreneurs, because I know I can't compete there, and I'm not that exciting, right? I just like making tutorial videos like this one. But I know when someone's looking for a tutorial video, I can focus on being the best. So I know that's a little nebulous, but I really wanted to talk about this because it's something that I haven't seen elsewhere, and it's making sure that you find your niche and you find the right way to connect with your ideal viewer, customer, or prospect, client, fill in the blank, whatever, where you're making sure that you are staying authentic to yourself and you're figuring out what is the best version of you and best content you can provide to your ideal customer or fill in the blank at the time that they're ready to engage with your type of content. So if you're getting some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button, comment below if you have any questions about building your personal brand. And now we're finally ready for the bonus KPI. So how do you know if your content is working? How do you know if you're doing enough and you're on the right track? There's one KPI. There's only one key performance indicator you need to focus on for really the first 2 to 3 years of your brand building process. And that is number of posts. I know that's anticlimactic, right? But that is it. We don't care about views, we don't care about watch time, we don't care about likes or retweets or how many comments we got. It's all about you and your commitment to building your personal brand, commitment to your content strategy, and just posting content, getting better at creating content and better at understanding who you're trying to connect with. And that's why the engagement part of our definition is so important, because not only do you want to focus on the number of times you're posting, which I suggest at least 3 times a week for whatever you're doing, is you're also engaging with people when they comment. Even if you only get 1 comment, you only get 1 like. Everyone starts there, but you have to be consistent with your content and you have to be authentic with your content for an extended period of time to build your personal brand the right way and build a solid foundation where that you're actually going to be able to springboard off of to whatever you want to do in the future. So it really is number of occurrences. You can see here from my screenshots, over 400 videos on YouTube, 700 pins on Pinterest, and over 800 posts on Instagram, and I'm nowhere close to being done. And I'm just sharing these to show you how much work building your personal brand actually takes. It's not an overnight thing. It takes real dedication and consistency, and it's so easy to just get demoralized if you're focused on your vanity metrics, like how many views or how many subscribers or how many followers, likes, and retweets you get, when really the only key performance indicator for the first few months, if not years, is just how consistent are you being and how many posts are you putting, because the number of occurrences is important. The number of times you post is important, because each time you post, each piece of content you make is a little worker bee that's running out to go and build your personal brand on autopilot. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some value out of this video. Thank you so much for sticking with me on this one. We covered a lot. There was a lot of conceptual stuff in here, so I highly suggest you go through that timestamp table of contents and go ahead and comment below if you have any questions about building your personal brand. This is a long process to go through. So thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep building the business you love.